Yo, how's it going everyone? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm Eimei, and recently I've taken to the habit of going to Dajanken.net, which shows off Shonen Jump's popularity poll just to help me decide which manga I should read next. And there is this one series that has not been on my radar, which has been consistently within the top 5. And that series is called Blue Box. It is a romance sports manga. I know, crazy, right? Two genres you never thought would actually mix with each other. Granted, this series doesn't go super heavily into the sports genre. Like, it doesn't have your typical sports genre tropes where a team is pretty decent, they have some good players, but they're just one or two amazing players short of being the best team in the nation. And what do you know? The protagonist just so happens to be a very talented player with some shortcomings, whom is exactly what that team was missing. Then of course you got the obstacles, the training arc, developing new skills, perfecting their trademark skill, and then building off of that. You know, the typical sports tropes. However, this series doesn't focus on that. Yes, sports plays a heavy influence onto the plot, but the main focus is the romance between the two protagonists. Their entire relationship revolves around the sport they love, and how their dedication to that sport draws them close to each other. And as always, when it comes to romance and sports mangas, there's always some major obstacle in the way of them achieving their goal. I'll build more upon that when we get to the spoiler-filled section of the video. So for now, I wanted to talk about the mangaka who wrote this, Kouji Miura. She had written several mangas before starting this one, but almost all of these one-shots are critically acclaimed, receiving special honorable mentions and multiple awards. Which is no surprise, cause Kouji Miura actually graduated from the Department of Arts and Culture at Musashio Art University. So she comes from a background where her entire education was revolved around art. So she is an experienced and talented artist, which, to be completely honest, is actually surprising to me. Based on the artwork from Blue Box, I thought she was not as experienced as she actually is, just because of how minimalistic her art style is. Because there are some panels where you can clearly tell these were the panels where all of her work and effort went into. So for the smaller panels, you can kind of tell she intentionally chose to do a minimalistic style, not putting in a lot of detail. But because of that, I started thinking, oh, she's not as experienced as some of the other artists. And this clearly disproved me. I was way off by that. So now I'm thinking she's incredibly talented and intentionally chooses to do minimalistic stuff so she could focus more on like maybe the background, maybe more on the bigger panels where she wants to have a close-up of a character in order to fully display their emotions. You know, something like that, especially because I never thought she was a bad artist. It was just minimalistic, which usually is a sign of someone not having as much experience, or at least not as much experience continuously publishing on a weekly basis, which could also be due to lack of assistance. And since I'm still in the early parts of the chapter, that was before this was consistently within the top 5. But anyways, enough talking about the art. Let's focus on the story now. Just be wary of minor spoilers. I'm still in the early part of Blue Box. I haven't even reached 100 chapters yet. So I'm not going to be spoiling anything recent, but I am going to be spoiling the beginning of the series. So the story follows Taiki Inomata, who goes to a specialized school where it's both a middle school and a high school combined. So it's one school and it's 6 years through, where the courses are separated for the junior high and the high school section. Also, this school is acclaimed for its sports programs, which means if you want to be an athlete, this is one of the schools you would want to go to. And the story begins with our protagonist Taiki in his final year of his middle school program and about to enter the high school program. Now, Taiki is a dedicated badminton player. He loves the sport so much that every single day since the start of his final year in middle school, he would go to the gym before school in order to get at least a few hours worth of practice in. And then when he first started going to the gym, he saw that there was a girl already there, and her name was Chinatsu Kano, and she's the girls' basketball team's best player. She is a sophomore in high school, which in Japan would also be a junior technically. Because for those of you who don't know, in Japan, middle school is 3 years and high school is also 3 years. So their second year in high school will be equivalent to our junior year. So anyways, when he saw that this girl was here earlier than him, practicing just as hard as he does, he started to develop feelings for her. But his goal was improving himself. He wanted to focus on badminton. And so every day they'd come early in the morning and practice together. Well, not together, but within the same gymnasium. Then suddenly it's revealed that Chinatsu might actually end up moving away because her family got a job overseas. However, she didn't want to abandon her team. Her dream is to make it to nationals. she didn't want to abandon that dream halfway through. And so her mother pulled some strings and convinced one of her friends to take her in. And that friend just so happened to be Taiki's mother. Now Taiki is in this really awkward situation where his crush is now living with him. Also, I did kind of mess up a little bit earlier. I made it sound like she was 2 years older than him, but no, she's only 1 year. As he was entering his first year in high school, she was entering her second. So when they first met, she was still in her first year in high school. So there's only 1 year apart between them, but still, it is very awkward for him to be living with his crush. And now the plan is for her to live with him for the next 2 years until she graduates high school. Now you would think, oh, there's gonna be a lot of romance, a lot of ecchi scenes. That's typical for these type of living with your crush situations. There is no ecchi in this, so don't even think that they're gonna be focusing a lot on sexual content. No. This is focusing on the characters and their love for their sport, as well as them dealing with their growing affection for one another. Granted, the series is mainly told through Taiki's perspective, so we don't really see if Chi has any feelings for him, but it's heavily implied. And then to add a little more drama into the mix, Taiki has a friend who happens to be a girl, who also has a crush on him. Now this girl's name is Hina Chono, and she's the school's best gymnast, whom is expected to make a deep run into nationals for her respective sport. Now she's a little more vocal and social compared to our other two protagonists, so she spends most of her time just teasing Taiki throughout the series. And this ends up causing Chinatsu to believe that they're a couple, which ends up leading to a lot of drama later on. So the series pretty much revolves around this love triangle as well as the sports that these three members are heavily involved in. Well, you might think typical romance drama, not really that interesting, but the romance isn't the key focus here. It's a huge majority of the story, but we have to remember, all three of these characters, their priorities are the sport that they're training for. And they even use the romance aspect of the series to help them improve in sports, because Taiki, he's only in his first year. He doesn't expect himself to go deep into nationals. That is, however, until he learns about Chinatsu's goal. He sees her drive for the sport she loves. And that's also one of the reasons why he doesn't really ask her out, especially because they live together. He doesn't want to make things awkward for her or difficult for her to compete in the sport she's in. She wants to make it to nationals. She wants to go deep into nationals, possibly even win the championship. And this burden that she's placing upon herself, Taiki wants to be able to help her take off some of that load, but also bearing his own weight, his own personal goals. And she herself is trying to return the favor as well. So both of them are trying to support each other without getting intimate with each other, while still focusing on the sport they love. And it's this dynamic that really drives the story. Speaking of the story, I feel it's really down to earth. It's grounded in reality. The character's personality seems so real that it's making me think that these two could easily have been two friends of mine. And I'm just watching their relationship develop. And since it's so grounded in reality, there's not going to be any sort of super special sports stuff going on. You're not going to see any named moves. They're just going to be playing the game. Because I know in typical sports, anime, manga fashion, when a player doesn't move, they give it the name or tell you the name of that move, in order to create sort of like a battle manga tendency where each player has their own special unique abilities. No, this one doesn't do that. As a matter of fact, it doesn't really focus on the games at all. It focuses more on the players practicing and developing their skills, but when it comes to the actual game, it's not prolonged. Kouji Miura doesn't spend a lot of time developing the game itself. She usually just focuses on key moments. For example, a big play to turn the tide, or just goes straight to the end result. So you're not going to see the game begin, see everything through all the way to the end. You usually see the game start, a couple of plays from within the game, and then that final key moment. And with that, I can see some people not even calling this a sports manga, but sports is such a heavy part of the story. It's just the games themselves aren't as focused upon, which is why I said earlier that the romance was the heavy driving force of the series. But anyways, I can clearly see why this is consistently within the top 5. You have a great story, you have good narrative, good development, realistic and relatable characters. The artwork is decent, it's not the best I've seen, but it's definitely not the worst. It's consistent all the way through. If Kouji wanted to make something cute and moe-esque, she chose a simplistic format where it's similar to how Komi Can't Communicate does with their protagonist, when they go big eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just to give off a more cute design, Kouji kinda does that when she goes to her minimalistic setting. When she goes minimalistic, it's more cutely designed. And then when moving on to a serious tone, she focuses more on the character's facial expressions more than anything. Like, there's not a lot of detail, which is why I constantly call her artwork minimalistic, but it gets the point across and it's really well drawn out, which frankly I think is all you really need for a manga. This isn't a painting or a mural, you don't need a lot of heavy design. In all honesty, for a weekly Shonen Jump series, to have a romantic comedy within it is difficult enough. Then you try to make it into a sports manga on top of that, it feels like you would have too much going on with the story, but Kouji Miura does a really good job of balancing all of these aspects. So much so, I honestly think this is the best romance that Shonen Jump has ever published, and is definitely within the top 5 in terms of all-time sports mangas, right up there with Slam Dunk, Kuroko Basketball, Haikyuu, and all of the other notable sports mangas that I can't quite think of off the top of my head. Maybe Prince of Tennis, I know that was popular, but I just don't know how popular it was. Would people consider it top 5? I don't know, maybe you guys can let me know. And with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, I truly appreciate it. I do apologize for the lack of uploads recently. I've been dealing with some stuff in real life that have been making it very difficult for me to consistently edit and update videos, and I also had one project I just completely scrapped because I didn't like anything about it. I didn't enjoy making it, I didn't enjoy what I said, I didn't enjoy the topic I was covering, so I decided to scrap one project and start over with a new one, so that delayed my upload schedule even more. I'm gonna try to consistently upload onto this channel because I also do TikTok videos where I just do my One Piece reviews and just upload them on there. If you guys want, I have a link in the description so you guys can go check it out if you're interested in One Piece. Thanks again for watching, I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next one, and remember to keep having fun. See ya!